And call our February board meeting to in order. So let's stand as we say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask Dr. Combs to lead us in prayer tonight.
I will. Let's all pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day that you've given to us, for all the many wonderful blessings we have. There are so many things, Lord, that we know we should be thankful for that we so often take for granted. One of those especially is for the kids in this district and what they mean to us, what they mean for the system, what they mean for the whole country. We hope that we will make sure we do what we're supposed to do to have them go in the right direction and teach them what they need to know, Lord. We thank you so much for all the people here in this room, for those that have chosen to take of their night to come here. Pray that you'll bless us all. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Board, if you'll take a look at the agenda in front of you. Take a look at it, and then we'll take a motion to approve the agenda as presented. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry. Ms. Eubanks, got a motion, we have a second. Second, Mr. Gray. Any discussion on the motion? I mean, the agenda? Board, I'd like to see if it's okay with you guys to move Mr. Fields' operations report up to the student of the month, right behind the student of the month. Are we okay with that? I'd like to move that there. And then I'd also like to move other business, Ms. Miller, right behind Mr. Fields' report as well, if that's okay. So moving number 11, operations report, behind number 6, and then number 13 up behind number 7 at that time. So any other discussion on that? All in favor of the motion for the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passed. Do we have any additions to the agenda tonight? Anybody want to add? Well, if not, then Dr. Bird, teacher substitute of the month.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have several folks here tonight that we're going to be honoring, and we're going to start with Staff Easy. They're here tonight, and we have 2 substitutes of the month, one for last month and one for this month, so I'm going to turn it over to them first.
I have 2 to present this month. I didn't get through it last month. But my first one is Miss Daphne Edwards. Started with us last year and she's been phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then my second one is Miss Watson. Last year as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brittany.
Thank you.
We certainly appreciate our substitute teachers. We can't do what we do without the help of those folks that are willing to come work with our students, so we want to thank them. The next thing, we'll have our American Fidelity Teacher of the Month. This month, Miss Anna Ripperton from Austin P, if she will come up, and her principal is going to come up with her. Miss Ripperton is an 11-year veteran teacher, all at Austin P? Yes. I think she did her student teaching in Atoka back in the day. So it's nice to see her being recognized tonight. And I'm going to read with you what her principal said about her and her nomination for Teacher of the Month. Miss Anna is rocking the ELA Learning Lab. She strives to meet students where they are and push them to where they can be. On any normal day, you will see Miss Anna patiently nurturing students' reading abilities, putting them in the spotlight for goals attained, or bragging on them for meeting personal goals. She helps our patriots understand what they don't know yet, and helps them to see how great they are. We are so thankful for the work she is doing with our special education kids. So we want to say congratulations to Miss Anna. we have our students of the month, and we'll start with our elementary student of the month. If I can have Madeline Olson, and I believe her principal's here with her. Thank you so much. I'm gonna let you hold this while I read all the nice things that were said about you. Okay. All right, so Madeline was chosen as Student of the Month for her cooperation and work ethic, leadership, community involvement, considerate to others, assist others in need, outstanding attitude, outstanding grades, and positive role model for other students. She's also on the Student Leadership Council that we met with last month. I remember her. Maddie is a light in the classroom. She's always willing to help and participate. She has an incredible sense of humor, and everyone enjoys her silliness. She is incredibly smart and works diligently. She helps whenever needed, especially with younger students. She is a joy to be around. So congratulations, Madeline. We're so proud of you. Great job. This is my favorite part of the night. For sure. All right, for middle school, we have from Brighton Middle School, and I think her principal is here with her as well, a seventh grader, Miss Claire Boland. Claire will come up. Told her she didn't have to get a speech. Claire was selected as Student of the Month for her cooperation and work ethic, leadership, considerate to others, assist others in need, outstanding attitude, outstanding grades, and being a positive role model for other students. Claire is an outstanding student who always strives for excellence. Her grades are very important to her, and she works hard to keep them up. She is not just a smart girl, but she is so kind to others and is always willing to help anyone. This may be her best quality. She is an excellent example of a model student, and that's from Miss Shelley Dix, one of your teachers, so congratulations. And finally, from Covington High School, we have Hope Tovar. She is a ninth grader. Her principal as well. Hope was chosen as Student of the Month for her cooperation and work ethic, leadership, considerate to others, and assisting others in need, outstanding attitude, outstanding grades, and being a positive role model to other students. Hope is an involved student in the CHS family. She is a consistently diligent student in the classroom. She is a hardworking athlete on the basketball court. Hope is kind, helpful, and courteous in all situations, and she is a blessing to teach. And that's from Miss Christy Clark, one of your teachers, so congratulations. All of our teachers and students for the work that they do every day. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Bird.
You're welcome.
Teachers, students, thank y'all. Thank you for all your hard work. We really appreciate it. You're welcome. Thank you. Principals, thank you so much. We appreciate it very much. At this time, Mr. Fields, give you the.
Yes, of course, I'm gonna yield my time to Mr. McLean and Kelvin High School, but I do want to say congratulations to Mr. Skylar Smith for his accomplishments. I never got the chance to meet him because he was always moving 20, 25 miles an hour. But man, it's gonna be, you need to cherish this moment. You'll never forget it, I promise you.
Yeah, amen.
Mr. McLean?
Thank y'all for having me tonight. It is a great night to come out on Skylar and his family. Thank y'all for giving us the opportunity to recognize his accomplishments, Covington High School's accomplishments here at a board meeting, and we appreciate that. But to my knowledge, and somebody might be able to correct me on down the history books, but this has never been accomplished in Tipton County. We've never had a Mr. Football in any classification that I know of. Skyline, my first recollection of Skyline, I think one of our assistant coaches told me that, have you seen that little running back over Crestview Middle? And I said, no. So I need to go check out the softball field anyway. So I went over there. It took me about 2 seconds to pick out which one he was, and I left there with a big smile on my face. And as he came into Covington High School as a freshman, seeing him on the football field, he was doing things that you would see a junior and senior doing. He was running between the tackles, so I know maybe some of you might not know what that means, but that's where it gets tough. And, I seen him doing that and just thought, man, what a special athlete, student athlete. And just seeing him progress through the years, but I'm gonna tell you, Skyland's a very humble young man. He knows, it took 11 to get done what he done. He appreciates all those teammates and the coaching that he received. Skyland did nothing but fantastic things on the football. He represented his community and his high school to the utmost, because he played banged up, he played hurt, he wouldn't play. So, my recollection of him is that he's a better young man than he is a football player. And we know that he's gonna be successful because we take great pride in all of our programs in Tipton County, but when a kid leaves that program, you know they have work ethic, you know they have discipline, and you know they can overcome adversity. So, we wish the best for Skyland. He has an opportunity. I don't want to steal Coach Goforth and Ms. McLeod's thunder here, but he's got an opportunity to go on to the next level, get an education, choose what he wants to do in life, and pass on some of those skills and things that he's learned along the way to the younger generation coming up. And we know that he would do that. And Covenant High School was blessed to have him in the school for 4 years. And Skylar, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and what you've done. You were a great role model when you were there. Still there. Get you across that stage on May 22nd. Hey, it is quite an honor for Tipton County and Covenant High School to have a 3A Mr. Football. And to receive, probably should have won that award last year. So it's a culmination of things, and I know Coach Goforth's going to give you a little history of what he has accomplished, and I'm not going to get into that, but it's remarkable. And the names that came before him, to know that he outdone some fantastic student athletes from Covenant High School in past years. Not say outdone them, but his name's at the top of the list. I want to thank Hank Sampson and Herb Jones. I know they are providing him with the ring, and I know Mr. Field just brought in that. Being that only a couple rings were ordered, so the motor takes a while to get here, but he will be presented with his own personal ring, recognizing his accomplishment of Mr. Football for 2024 season. So, and it's decorated up nice. There's some artwork that we wanted the family to have to take home in remembrance. I know y'all have a trophy, if I'm not.
Right.
So they provided that, and Skyland, again, we're proud of you, man, and I'm gonna let Coach Goforth get up here, because he works with you every day, and talk a little bit more. Thank y'all for letting me speak. Thank Coach Fields for giving me my time. Thank you.
All right, good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the school board meeting tonight, specifically as we recognize Skyland on his amazing accomplishment. Before I get started, I would like to thank a few people, so please bear with me. First, Dr. Combs, thank you for your amazing leadership for our school system. What you and your staff have had to work through during your tenure is unprecedented. You've been solution-oriented, you've maintained positive throughout, and you do so with a smile on your face, and thank you for that. To the school board, thank you for all that you do and the support that you have for our school system. I only know a few of you personally, Blake Schenkel, Richard Gray, and Miss Loretta. Thank you and appreciate everything that you do for our school system. Our administration, Miss McGlown, Mr. Price, Miss Billington, Coach Nix, our AD, Coach Glass, Miss Washington, I know she just took another job, and also our former principal, Coach McLean. Thank you for your leadership, your guidance, and also for your support. To Logan Wall, the Board of Directors and Covenant Gridiron Association, thank you for all that you do. To Coach Kirby, thank you for continuing to uphold the championship tradition, the standards and expectations that go with Covington football. Very few people truly understand what it takes to be the head football coach at Covington High School. Under your leadership, our results speak for themselves. And Dr. Chris Sage, in preparation for tonight, Chris provided me with most of the information about Skyland's accomplishments. For 28 years, Chris has kept the stats for our football team. He does an amazing job, and I appreciate all that you mean to Covington football. At Covington High School, football just means more. Throughout the rich and storied history of Covington football, we've had many great teams that have included numerous great players who earned awards such as All-Region, All-Metro, and All-State. It's extremely important to understand Skyland's place among the greats of our program. I apologize in advance if your name is not mentioned on this list, but we do not have time tonight to go into detail about all of them, and that would take multiple school board meetings to discuss. Many of you may recognize the following names that have played football at Covington and excelled throughout the years: Steve Allen Wooten, Mark Holmes, Ronald Holland, James Macklin, Claude Simonton, Dr. Jim Badeur, Tucker Ashford, Charlie Moss, Shane Elam, who I'm proud to say is my first cousin, who played collegiately at the University of Tennessee and Ole Miss, as well as in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers, Atlanta Falcons, and the Houston Texans. He is the only player in Covington High School history and Tipton County history to play in the NFL. Toby Smith, Keno Anderson, John Poe, who played at the University of Tennessee, Larico Boykin, Craig Simonton, Daniel Holmes, Colin Penner, Marlon Heaston, Antonio Gaines, who averaged almost 12 yards per carry and played at the University of Tennessee, Michael Granberry, who had over 3,000 career rushing yards and played at the University of Memphis, Carlos Williams, who also played at the University of Memphis, Johnston White, who was a 2012 Mr. Football finalist and had over 4,800 career rushing yards and played at Arkansas State University, TJ Smith, who had over 4,000 career rushing yards as well, Brock Lomax, one of the all-time greats. He played at Austin Peay. Marcus Hayes, who was a 2018 Mr. Football semifinalist, had over 4,200 career rushing yards. Jamarian Dow, who was a 2021 and a 2022 Mr. Football semifinalist and had over 4,500 career rushing yards. And Darren White, who I played basketball with under Coach Fields and then football with at CHS, who still holds numerous records, who played at the University of Memphis, and who is considered by many to be the greatest to ever play at Covington High School. As you can see, it's easy to see why many former and current Covington High School football players are in such high demand. With all the amazing accomplishments of each of these players and more, not one has accomplished what Skyland has. Here are a few of his stats from his career. He is the all-time leading rusher with 6,214 rushing yards, and he broke Johnston White's previous record. He has the most touchdowns in a career with 112. He broke Darren White's record that stood for 24 years. In 2024, he broke the record for the most touchdowns in a season with 46. He had 6 touchdowns in a single game, which is also a record. In addition to these, he finished his career with over 800 receiving yards and numerous return yards. And in 2024, he became the first and only Mr. Football winner, not only in Covington High School history, but also in the history of Tipton County. We have a sign at our stadium that says, "Leave a legacy." The legacy that Skyland Smith leaves at Covington High School is one of a kind. A legacy that will carry on forever and will hopefully serve as motivation for the players currently in our program and for the young kids who grow up watching their heroes play every Friday night and who dream of wearing, as Miss McGowan says, the royal colors of purple and gold. It's been my pleasure to personally coach Skyland the last 4 years, and words cannot express how proud our coaching staff, our school, our community, and our city is of you. Skyland, to whom much is given, much is expected. I challenge you to not waste this platform that you now have. Use this to give back, to mentor and positively influence the many kids who hope to one day become the second Mr. Football winner from Covington High School. Thank you for your time, and go Chargers.
You want to get a picture of Dr. Bird? Put him, watch, like, have him come up here.
Come around here and we'll take a picture together. Y'all okay with that?
Skyline, I want you to see all these Munford and Brighton folks around you too. You hear me?
Dr.
Crum
said.
Yeah, we gotta
need
Yeah,
that.
you
Good.
might want
Trophy
to-
too.
He didn't mention.
We need to squeeze in some. I can see everybody, I don't think it's heel.
That's perfect.
My knees ain't squatting.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, we take a couple more. 1, 2, 3, one more. Did you get yours?
I'm good.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, thanks, Mr. Goforth, appreciate you, thank you.
I told him the two was left off. We were both left off.
He didn't wanna, we got too much going on.
I will say, it is heartburn to see Aaron White's records broke, since we all grew up with him, but that is saying something. When you can break his records, that's amazing. So, man, what a great legacy, all Tipton County schools have had. But Skylar, we thank you for representing us, not only in athletics, but just being a humble and nice and great young man. So that's what it means to be a Charger in Tipton County, and we thank you so much for everything you do, and your parents, and how they've raised you well. So thank you. The administration, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good job, Blake.
We were known as Blake G and Blake S. They're all grew up. It was always hard on the teacher when we had the same class together. Mr. Field, do you have anything else?
I think I'm good. I do wanna mention, Crispy Middle School boys basketball. They made it to the state tournament. I think they left this morning. They play tomorrow night at 8 and Saturday morning at 10 at Rockville High School, wherever it is in Smyrna, Tennessee.
Awesome. Great.
Which, and another reason that's so cool, we talked about at the principals meeting yesterday, the middle school that doesn't have a gym.
Hi, that's exactly what I was saying.
Has made it to the state playoff, I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe,
hanging the new.
I was about to say, maybe they can win
They were
something
borrowing
hanging
the
in
Charger
there, right?
Academies, I think, so,
The Chargers are hot right now.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Field, appreciate it. Board, Ms. Miller, Jessica Miller's put in a petition to speak before the board. This time we're gonna allow her to speak. Ms. Miller, you mind coming up?
Y'all cleared the room for me.
It wasn't you, I promise. They didn't wanna hear Mr. Billy's budget report.
Just go.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the board for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Jessica Miller, and I have been a resident of Mumford for 17 years. I have a child in Mumford Elementary, one in Mumford Middle, and a senior graduating this year from Mumford High. I come before you tonight not just as a parent, not just as an advocate, but as a voice. One voice among many who refuse to be silent while our schools, our children, and our future feel under siege. I come before you with a heavy heart, burdened by a deep and growing frustration, because I'm tired. I am tired of seeing our schools treated as bargaining chips in political games. Tired of watching those in power who have never walked our halls, never seen the light in a child's eyes when they grasp a new concept, never heard the quiet struggles of a student with special needs decide from their high places what is best for our children without ever listening to us. We have called, we have pleaded, we have raised our voices in protest, and yet time and time again, we've been ignored. I have been unheard by our state senator, who from what I know has never had a child or a grandchild in our public schools. I've been unheard by our state representative, who homeschooled her children and has no stake in the institutions we all love. I have called our senators in Washington for weeks, only to be met with voicemail after voicemail, unanswered and unreturned. So yesterday, I drove to the local Memphis office hoping to get anybody to speak to. But the doors were locked, and through a cold speaker, I was told that I have to call the same number that no one answers for an appointment first. And while our voices are shut out, decisions are being made, decisions that threaten the very foundation of public education. A school voucher bill has been passed, a bill that does not lift up education, it tears it apart. It drains resources from the very schools that need them most. It takes from the many to give to the few. And in rural communities like ours, where public schools are not a choice but the only option, this bill is a blow that cuts deep. Make no mistake, my friends, this bill will hurt. It's gonna hurt our teachers, our schools, and most of our kids. We are told that hold harmless clauses will protect funding, but hold harmless still equals lost funding. It does not account for rising costs of materials, staffing, or resources. By year 3, there will be a projected $44 billion deficit in education funding. That so-called guaranteed funding is a mirage. And now something even more dangerous looms: the threat of dismantling the Department of Education, stripping the very protections that ensure every child receives the education they need. My youngest daughter is autistic. I'm sorry.
All right, take your time. Take your time. You're doing a good job.
She's thrived in the school system because of the dedication of Tipton County's Special Education Department. But I know too well what the world looked like before those protections existed. Autism is genetic in my family. My aunt, now in her 50s, is autistic too. My grandmother fought not for a better education, but for any education at all. She fought against a system that wanted to institutionalize rather than educate. She fought because before the Department of Education and before IDEA, there was no legal guarantee that a child like mine or hers would receive the support they needed. I'm here to tell you that I'm terrified. I fear a world where no one enforces my daughter's rights, where no one ensures that she gets the support, the services, the dignity that every child deserves, because without those protections, who's gonna hold them accountable? Who will fight for the child who learns differently, the child who struggles, the child whose voice is too often drowned out by politics? So I ask you tonight, not just as a school board, but as a community, as a people, and as defenders of justice, to stand with me. Last time, when the vouchers were passed, the board failed to act, not because of their own doing, but it was because they were caught in between meetings, bound by procedure, while the powers that be moved swiftly to dismantle what so many before us fought to build. But we do not have the luxury of waiting anymore. Today, in the confirmation hearing for the nominee for Secretary of Education, Mrs. McMahon was asked what would happen if the DOE were dismantled. Her response was that states and elected school boards would be responsible for making the best decisions for our children. That means you, this board. If the federal government abandons public education, you will be the ones that we have to hold accountable. That is why I beg you to be proactive, to be our voice when higher powers refuse to listen. Because let me tell you something, those who seek to destroy public education are not waiting for us. They're not waiting for the next meeting, they're not waiting for a more convenient time, and they're not waiting for us to catch our breath. And if they will not wait to take from us, then we must not wait to fight back. That is why I'm asking the board tonight to act with urgency and to create a public reporting system that will expose the damage being done potentially. The teachers we lose, the resources that disappear, the funding drained from students who need it most. Because if they will not listen to our voices, then we must make them see the consequences of their actions. I also understand that the only way our system can receive the $2,000 bonus for its teachers is if the board opts into the amendment giving that bonus. This is deceptive, creating the illusion that the board endorses this broken voucher system. So I ask you also to consider passing a resolution of opposition against the voucher system, No, it won't reverse the law, but it could influence further amendments to protect our schools. At the very least, it would serve as a public declaration that Tipton County stands in defense of public education. I say to you tonight, no more waiting, no more silence, no more standing by. Let us stand together, let us stand boldly, let us stand without fear, without hesitation, and without compromise. Because the future of our schools is the future of our children, and the future of our children is the future for us all. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you, Ms. Miller, for your time and your love for our community and our students and our staff and for your children. We thank you so much for that and for your voice as well. With that, we'll move on board to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I have a motion right here from Mr. Edwards, second by Mr. Lavelle. We have any discussion on that? Anything we need to move out or you wanna pull out at this time?
I wanna pull out the handbook 25-26.
Handbook, student which one?
The student handbook 25, not the registration.
Student, okay, all right. So, we're gonna pull out, item E then at this point. Do we have any other items to pull out? Let's, we'll handle the motion. I tell you what, let's, we have a motion on the floor for that, and that's my fault for actually pulling that motion. I should have asked to pull out anything prior to that. So, let's deal with, since the motion's on the floor, let's go ahead and deal with Student Handbook 2025.
I just had a couple things, just real quick, just stuff that parents and teachers have been talking. The, use of personal multimedia communication devices in schools, 6.312. Policy states students with teacher principal permission may use a personal device for instructional purposes. I think with textbooks and now Chromebooks, there's no need in that anymore. I'm not willing to ban, cell phones and stuff like that, because I think there might be a time for that, but I don't, it leaves too much open to, well, the teacher said this, and what are you really looking at? I don't think there's any, I think we need to strike that out personally. For 6 through 12, it says they must be turned off and stowed away. So with the Chromebooks, they have full access to what they need for instructional purposes along with the textbooks. There's no need for them to be doing any type of instruction on a cell phone. I would like to see if we could get that sentence pulled out of there to where they can't use them for that specific reason.
Yeah, in the consent agenda, Dr. Bird, you have anything you wanna,
I would just say that, if that would be a policy change, because that is the direct verbiage from policy 6.3, whatever you said.
312.
Yeah, and so that would have to be taken into consideration by the board to change that policy, because that's scripted word for word into the handbook from board policy.
which one is it? What page are you looking at?
I'm trying to find it on here real quick. 3.
I'm looking. I'm still trying. Is it in the yellow?
No, it is not. in yellow.
Oh, okay. So we're wanting to look at a policy change to the student handbook. Trying to think about how we should do that, how we look at that, or,
Do they refer to it as a setting of the phones in the handbook?
Any
Multimedia
device, yeah. Here, I just found it. It's on page 9, top of the page 9.
the K through 5 one?
K through 5 is fine. They're not allowed to have them. 6 through 12 says they can possess them, but they must be turned off and stowed away in backpacks. It's the third paragraph. While students with teacher and principal permission may use a personal device for instructional purposes. I just think we're way beyond that with Chromebooks.
Mr. Gray, if I may.
Yeah.
So is your question just, can the board have some discussion on just saying they can have them at school, but there's no need to use them instructionally?
Yeah,
because we have
that's my
Chromebooks?
thing, I get they need to have them, if something, the kid gets sick, Aiden just got sick last week, he was able to text me from the nurse's office. But I just don't think they don't need cell phones for instructional purposes. I mean, there's no reason for that to be a tool to use to teach a kid. Because, I mean,
Well, I wonder if their Chromebooks left at home, they can jump on their phone, and I'm just kind of wondering that as well, if they need that.
like the middle's not even allowed to bring Chromebooks home, they have to stay at school.
Can bring them home.
But we have more, like we have, I think we have backups they can use if they need to. I mean, it's a good thing for us to look at. I mean,
Should this be looked
we
at
can
under
look at it.
the cell phone policy?
Yes,
Is
I
that,
think
should we,
The policy would have to change the verbiage in the handbook. So
Okay.
that would come, we could look at making a revision to that, which is basically your suggestion is striking that
Right.
one sentence.
Just that one sentence, yes.
And then we could look at it, strike that, y'all talk about it in your policy piece and then bring it back to the board.
Yeah. You okay
If
with
that's
that?
something you'd
Probably,
like, I mean,
yes,
so you're
absolutely.
saying leave them, but
Right.
just for instructional purposes, they can use their.
Their tablet or textbook.
Okay.
We got a textbooks adoption going on at Austin P this evening for the
Right.
science books, so I mean.
Well, in the meantime, to Ms. Loretta's point, that would also give us time to maybe talk to some teachers and say, hey, help us with this verbiage. Tell us how you would use it for instructional, how would this help you or not hurt you, right? Would that
Yeah.
be okay? And then bring that back?
Teachers just have so much to deal with, the less distraction they have during instruction time.
Right.
The better off they're gonna be, so
Okay.
I think.
Mr. Gill,
I
you got a
got one
question?
point relevant to this is, the excessive cell phone usage and using them as hotspots in the schools drastically slows down the Wi-Fi. So I've been contemplating getting, these little, basically, Faraday bags to put the phones in when they're in class, and take them back out when class is over and leave, just to cut down on the interference.
Mr. Narcisse, do you ever use it? Thank you, Mr. Kip. That's great. Actually, I think that's more discussion coming from that too. Mr. Narcisse, y'all ever use anything? You use your cell phone for instructional use?
A lot.
Okay.
For one, I have stats currently, and we don't have enough calculators, and I have an app on my phone called Calculate 84 that I use almost daily to do my work. I use it for research because if I'm doing a PowerPoint or doing something with my sites on my Chromebook, I can't use them because they're blocked. So I have to search on my phone to find the website and copy and paste it from my phone to put it on the PowerPoint and then use that to source it. And then as well as going off of you, hotspots, sometimes internet completely down. I can't use my Chromebook, I can't email, I can't do any of my work, so I
A
use
lot of
my
that
hotspot.
is from so many hotspots being on, they're interfering with each other.
Oh, so they're not pulling off. Yeah, you just got too much signal going in. Wow.
It's like having, 14 different Rock 103s on around you at the same time, all playing different stuff.
We see what music you listen
Good
to.
choice of
Yeah. Is that bad though?
Still Rock 103s.
So that's, Fred, you thinking, what's Rock 103? That's what you're thinking. There you go. Good man.
Thank you, Mr. First of all, by the way, Mr. Narcisse is our student representative, and he's sitting on it over here, so it's great to have him
Good to
and
have
his
you.
voice in here,
Yes.
so he's already coming handy, so one thank you for being here.
Did Mr. Gray preload you with that? Did he tell you that was coming? Okay, all right.
So,
He's a good guy like that.
did you have a question, Mr. Gill?
I think I just clarity, I don't like restricting the teachers to do whatever it is this teacher needs to do, but I'm enticed by this cell phone policy stuff. And I would like better conditions of the teachers without putting my wife out on Front Street.
No, we can do that, absolutely. No, I mean, not the Front Street part, we can do the, yes. Yeah, let me rephrase that real quick. Yeah, we can definitely do that. We've already talked about, looking at that policy occasionally anyway, so.
Yep.
Yeah, there's been some things about, the confiscation part and a lot of that Mr. Fields and I have been working on some verbiage with attorneys and the judge and some other things, chiefs, to get their opinion on some of that too. So, I mean, while we're looking at it, we don't mind asking.
There is a bill too on the House floor too, or they're gonna run it through that they're looking
Right.
at, cracking down. How, he had sent us an email out the other day. However, we have language too, and it, goes
It's
to.
pretty much,
It's
pretty
pretty
close to what ours
close to
says.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't we, if you're okay, why don't we look into that a little bit more? And we look at this, since this would probably be a policy change that would, we need to look at that from can you look into that, Dr. Bird, and
I
do some
will.
research, and maybe for our next meeting, we can bring that up, talk about that? Yes?
Yes, sir. And I do wanna, Ms. Renee and I are having a sidebar about this. We are in a little bit of a time crunch because we have kindergarten registration coming up in March. And so, in order to do that online, the student handbook is part of that.
Okay.
So, just wondering the board's direction on, do you want to go ahead? There is a statement in the handbook that says updates in policy supersede what is in the handbook. So, the board might consider passing the handbook, knowing that policy could change. It is housed online, so we would immediately change it, but that would allow us to move forward with online registration in March for kindergarten. But again, knowing that statement is in there that says any board policy that changes supersede what's in here. I just wanted the board to kind of know
That's good.
where we are on that timeline.
That's a good point. Are you okay with that, board? You're good with that? Okay, so any other questions on that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I had one other category I just wanna go over real quick.
Yep.
The interrogation and searches, page 7.6.303, policy states, and I get, this is backed up by state law, interrogation may proceed without attendance of a parent, but the principal shall be present. And it mentions TCA 49.64203, section B, which brings up the loco parentis, where it's basically in place of a parent. The questions I had, and maybe Billy, you can chime in, we're kinda in the same boat on stuff. To me, having that situation, you got the administrator's a potentially biased counselor, because it says on there that they call in the police at the administration's request. So they're actually, the administrator is actually the one bringing the charges. They're more of a complainant than they are a counselor for the accused. I wanna know, in a situation like this, and, is Miranda being issued, and is it clearly being explained, before these interrogations happen? Is the present administrator there for the well-being of the child of the accused, or is it working on behalf of the school? Will the administrator halt the line of questioning if it begins to stray away from the investigation? Will the administrator fully explain the rights of the accused is protected by, and does the administrator completely understand those rights themselves to explain them? My concern is questioning by the police administration without a parent creates an intimidating environment, potentially leading to false confessions, fear, and a feeling of coercion. With the court will consider a totality of circumstances to understand, to communicate, determine the interrogation will be admissible in court, will be the child's age, developmental level, and the capacity to understand and communicate. And we gotta keep in mind too, I get we wanna say state law, but juveniles per the Supreme Court are also, per Amendment 14, Section 1, they're protected by the the Fifth Amendment and the Sixth Amendment, or Fourth Amendment, which is, let's see, I had it wrote down right here. Self-incrimination and right to counsel. I don't know how we need to change this, but there's not a questioning on criminal accusations or charges without a parent, counselor, custodian. And it even says legal counsel per the Supreme Court. That's getting dangerous. It's a very, very slippery slope. I know in my time with Memphis PD, if we had a juvenile in custody for anything suspected, we did not question them without parental guidance, because the court melee would ensue. Because the child has to understand their rights. And I'm very pro-staff, pro-principal, but the principals are there for the school. They're not gonna be there on behest of the well-being of the child, and the principals don't fully understand how to explain the rights of a child that is suspected of a crime. And it's not their job to understand that. But it's, per the Supreme Court, the child has to understand they're gonna be criminally investigated and interrogated. So that's a touchy one. I don't know what we need to change it or what, but interrogating a juvenile under somebody under the age of 18 without a parent is dangerous. And I mean,
So, paint the picture for me, I didn't even read it. Essentially, if there's something criminal that's happened, the way you're reading it, the principal and the law
Yeah.
enforcement officer are interrogating
Yes.
the student.
it says that they will try to contact a parent, but if a parent isn't available, then the principal or his designee can stand in place. I don't think there's a parent in this county that would be accepting of that. That you're trying to accuse my child of doing something criminal, oh yeah, go ahead, administrator, sit in there with the police, cause what's an 11-year-old gonna do that's charged with a crime that's being questioned by police and
What's the
administration?
definition of criminal? In this, I think that was,
Depends on what the police decide.
cause I was
South side,
interrogated all the
inside.
time by my principal.
Well, this is saying police initiated though, right? I mean, this is, I'm setting the scenario right.
It's
police
interrogations
and-
by police, administration's request.
Like for a search, somebody.
So I'm looking, so this is in our policy, right? This is just direct
So our-
verbiage, and it refers back to TCA code there, right?
It goes back to the code. I mean, of course, our attorneys looked at it, TSBA's attorneys looked at it, 3 attorneys have looked at it. But there's nothing wrong with us sending it back up there and revisiting. So if
Yeah.
you got a question about some of this, I mean, I would just suggest like, give those, cause if somebody asked me to recall what you just said on all that, mind would blow. So, but I mean, we can set that up and get them to take a look at it as all, hey, are we in danger here of anything? Cause I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'd love to have Stephen come in and maybe even Sheriff Beasley, maybe on like a work session to see, and we could discuss it. I mean, I wanted to bring it up, cause it's just some stuff when I was reading through the handbooks, I was like,
Well,
it could potentially be sketchy in a court.
Didn't the law come, I feel like we've had this discussion before, or something has been in the news about this, or laws come out recently on this, because on these interrogations. Anyway, this is not, it's coming up now in my brain that this has been discussed before somewhere, I've discussed it somewhere, maybe it was you and I at some point.
Mr. Fields may know, or
Yeah.
Billy, either one, like what's your take on it, your overall list?
Well, I mean, of course, he's correct when he says there should be an attempt or two to the parent. So I do understand. But where I'm kind of getting confused is when we say police initiated, but you're saying the administrator is asking the police to interrogate the student.
That's what it says in the,
Yeah,
in
I
the
see,
handbook.
it has the same language as the paragraph before that.
Right.
Interrogations by police, but
Yeah.
it's still the police doing the interrogating, not the
Administration.
administrative.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, he's saying if the
There's no
administrator.
counsel for the child.
That's right, if the administrator is standing in loco parentis for the parent because the parent's not there, then is the administrator doing what the parent would do on behalf of his or her child? Instead of just letting it go, I think that's part of it, or making sure they get on
I
it.
mean-
I think is that your question?
Yeah, it's just making sure we represent the child.
Not us
Him-
interrogating.
No,
but we
correct,
representing the
his
child.
representation, yes, because it's, and y'all know I'm not big on the state, but they do have, it's been tabled, but House Bill 720 is, you cannot question a child at all without parent, custodian, guardian, or legal counsel, and that interrogation must be filmed.
Okay.
So they're trying to push that through.
It sounds like we almost even need to pull it out, cause, and I hate to say it like this, but the liability be placed on the officer. Your training you just spoke of, you said you
Yeah.
wouldn't have done that. Sounds like the
We
officer
never
would have
did.
been trained and it takes I know you're advocating on behalf of the child, but if the law enforcement officer has to be called, he should bring in the legal authority on whether or not we should proceed with this or not, or should we wait on them. I know when I was treating patients, there was, when it was a minor, you had the parent, you know that
Mhm.
story. And, there were certain times that you could advocate on behalf of that. Certain times you couldn't, and I wouldn't stick my neck out hardly at all for any of those.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it almost sounds like to limit us from getting too involved, even though we're advocating for the, I don't know, it's a gray area.
That's my concern.
We have law, policy, and precedent that would back us. But like you said, law enforcement officer, and of course that, we wanna do what's best for that child. So you've got that whole thing there, the law and all that, in fact, we have that's we've got that for us, and for the policy backs it back to law, but in the best interest of the child, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I also understand what Matt's asking, right? So it may be worth pulling it and looking at it.
Sure.
I mean,
Well, why don't we do this then? I mean, we're not gonna solve this tonight.
No, no.
But I think it's a great point that you bring up. How about we do this, we'll just, we'll table that discussion, or we'll take it under advisement. How about that? And we can maybe get your notes to Dr. Byrd and Dr. Combs and Mr. Fields. We can run that up to the state, you know, and try to figure that out. All right, and we can just, you know, y'all be working on that. Maybe it's something we can present at our work session next time or something like, is that okay? Y'all okay with that, board? You know, so, we just, for light of keeping this and keeping them on track for March, you know, and getting them.
6.303, page 7.
Yeah, it was
It's
updated in 21.
third and fourth paragraphs, the concern.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up, so, we'll definitely have more discussion on that from a policy standpoint. Anything else with that? Do you have anything else with that?
That's
Okay.
it.
Well, with that said, we'll put that back in there, right, you know, that was a great discussion as far as consent agenda. The motions are on the floor. Do we have any other discussions with the consent agenda? If not, all in favor of the consent agenda with all these, with all A through F in them, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed, consent passed. Mr. McCann, policy committee report?
Alright, so, policy committee, we met at 5 o'clock over in the annex, and, first on our agenda was section 5, we just reviewed all of that. We're not recommending any changes. There was one we pulled out just for clarification on some verbiage. I guess that'll come back next month if there was anything or to change on that. For B and C, we will need motions, for the second reading, policy 4.603 and for policy 5.118. We talked about that, but this is the time we also open up for questions if there's any questions, but, we met, and the policy committee, we recommend all these changes for B and C.
Yeah, so any discussion on, yeah, Mr. Gill?
Was everybody in attendance?
Everybody was in attendance.
Had to make sure Matt wasn't making all the changes.
No changes to section 5, no changes to section 5, so there's no need to take a vote on that, no motion on that. Those are just, Dr. Bird's gonna look into a couple of things that we had saw, but, we'll present those. If there are changes, we'll present those at another date. Section 5 will look good to us, as Matt said. The only thing, like I said, that requires a motion will be, B and C. We did these are the second readings of the policy revisions, the promotion, retention, and background investigations. You guys have seen that last time, so, that's what Mr. Gill's Mr. Gill, I was looking at Mr. McCann's asking for is that we'll need a motion, for B, second reading of policy revisions. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
I got a motion right here by Mr. Gray, seconded by Mr. Jenkins. Any discussions on that second reading of policy revisions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed, and then Mr. McCann presented we talked about this last week. This is the first reading of policy revision. Mr. McCann, you wanna, well, I tell you what, Dr. Combs, do you wanna explain this?
which one?
This 6.204, the attendance of non-resident students, that change there?
Oh,
Dr.
the one,
Berger.
no, yeah, that's the one where we added, okay, so in the past, what we've had, and James, jump in here and help, and Renee, you may wanna help me too. We have had some non-resident students, you know, if they're out of the county, they'll pay a fee, right, to come into the county. It's $1,000, that's right, isn't it? But we've also had some that have decided they possibly wanna go back and forth, right, like, let's, okay, or give it, and then we wanna go back, and then so we decided it might be a good idea to add that piece in there that says, look, it's non-refundable, you know, once you get, for no reason. Because the policy in the past wasn't really clear on whether that could be refunded or not. We wanna make real sure that it's, you know, once you come in, you know, the money stays here.
In the same year, they're going back and.
Do you wanna, what was that example?
They have, well, if they move into the district, then they are refunded, the portion, that they haven't used. The cases we have is, the student's behavior or conducts or whatever, and they wanna go back to Shelby County, Hayward County, whatever, and then they want their money back. So that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But we had nothing in policy you know, we were challenged, and the parents said, well, you have nothing in policy that says that. So why can't I have my money back?
It didn't say we had to, but it didn't say we didn't, you know what I mean? There was that little.
FYI, board, it's in your folder up under policies there. You'll see that 6.204, you'll see that, it's one little sentence, tuition refund request for any other reason will be denied. Just so what we're talking about. Mr. Gill, you got a question?
Is that annual fee, is it,
At the beginning of the school year.
so if they were to, leave the next year and go somewhere else, and then return their junior year, would they pay $1,000 again?
Yes.
Yep.
It's 2,000 for your junior year.
Two.
I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
On the record.
Just kidding, I made that up. But I will say, I wanna make real clear what James said, 'cause this is a really good point too. Remember, if they are non-resident and they wanna come into Tipton County and we collect that, but then they move to Tipton County, like their family comes in, then that's refundable. You've moved into the county, whatever, you know, local will cover that. So, it's not those students, right? Yeah.
So we have a motion, Ms. Eubanks, motion second by Mr. Jenkins. We have any other discussion on this motion, on this policy 6.24, just the first reading here is what this is, so we'll have a second reading next month. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. That motion passed. Mr. Daugherty, financial report.
Sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
This is gonna be quick. I have one thing tonight, and that is the financial reports that are in your folder for showing the revenues and expenditures across the four funds. No amendments. I will report to the board, our mid-year review amendments did pass county legislative body, last Monday. So we're good to go there for everything you all voted on in the prior month. But Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Just ask that those financial, reports be spread across the minutes, and that's all business I have.
Thanks, sir. We appreciate it. The minutes will reflect it. Yeah, that's, more policy discussion tonight than finance, right? That makes it a lot, work sessions tremendously help this, by the way, so, thank you, Mr. Daugherty, appreciate it, you and Will's work. Dr. Bird, instructional report?
I'll be quick, but not that quick. All right, so, the philanthropy department of Ford, just wanna let the board know, they will be sponsoring a Fab Lab at Brighton High School beginning in the fall of 2025. We are in the beginning phases of planning that. Brighton High School administration and 2 teachers are actually going to Chattanooga next week to see what that would look like in their school. This E-Lab, as it's called, will be part of the Mechatronics Pathway in CTE at Brighton High School. Ford is donating all of the startup equipment and consumable materials for school year 25-26. And I put in my folder, I placed a timeline of the implementation so that you can see what that looks like. We are excited about this opportunity for our students. So just want to make the board aware of that. Second thing, February is CTE month nationally. As part of our strategic plan and the goals of HTL University, which you guys are familiar with, we are planning, we're excited about this. All of our 5th grade students are going to the high schools during the last week of February in order for those students to see CTE. And I know you say, well, they're 5th graders, but we want them to be exposed to that earlier than 8th grade. So we decided to do that as a 5th grade trip. And so they're all going to their potential feeder schools. It might not work after that because it's a few years down the road. But all 5th graders are going to be visiting one of the high schools, not all 3, that last week of February. For them to explore those future careers that are associated with each one of those pathways. We hope to make this an annual event. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. We'll take some pictures and post it in the board newsletter. We are also, make sure you tune in February the 18th to our Endless Possibilities podcast because we're going to be highlighting some of our CTE students on that podcast. So just want to make you aware of that. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair, unless someone has a question.
Any questions?
Who are the teachers? Who's going, you said on the, professional development on that?
They are taking Mr. Kent Cates and Cheryl Jacobs, who teach mechatronics and STEM robotics. Yeah, it kind of goes on that pathway. They're going next Tuesday and Wednesday. Anything else for me?
Thank you, Dr. Bird.
CTE for life.
they're actually, I think there's some stuff we talked about in legal legislation this week, they're actually looking at even strengthening that up even more, you know, there is some bills coming out to help out with even more CTE stuff, so I'm looking forward, I think that'll be, Clay, you have to keep us abreast of, you know, some of that stuff, but I think that's gonna be good, for sure. Thankful for that. Mr. Fields, we've already done yours. Capital project, Mr. Bennett.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening. Good evening.
So clearly the weather's not been great with us, so I can't give this wonderful report that we're just out there laying block and steel, and it's just, you know, that we're just chipping away. But we do have progress on the job site, at the new school. We've got the block work completed in area J and H, 95% in G, block work in 60% in F. And I think, Dr. Combs, are you gonna put this on there? Upload this for them tomorrow?
Yes.
So you'll have the copy of this,
I'm
and
gonna
you can
attach
look
some.
and coordinate this information with your map. Pouring part of area B slab tomorrow at 9, they had to cut the pour in half with the late start and the cold temps and the rain moving in by midnight Friday. The C slab is finished, we only have 3 pours left, which is exciting, because then at that point, as you're gonna continue to see, they're gonna amp up with block masons and we're gonna try to gain some speed. A, D, and part of B are what we have left to pour. The air barrier started at the middle school. Roofing material is on site for the gym and H area, so hopefully we're gonna get that in dry here very soon, and of course then that helps. You know, once you get the roof on it, they can really start turning some trades loose. Mechanical trades, rough end is about 70% in J, H, and they have started in G. The light gauge framing is about 90% in J, H, and G. And as you'll look across here, it's gonna appear as if we're working backwards, and we are as far as the alphabetical way the building's laid out, we're starting on the middle school side and working towards elementary. Iron workers are complete in J, H, G, and F is what they're gonna get started on next. And the brick will start on the middle school gym when the weather breaks after this next frigid, cold spell that we've got coming this next week, as well as the 2 to 3 inches of rain that we're expecting on Saturday. So, close communication with these guys. I mean, trust me, they are, staffing up to whenever the weather does break. I was told we could expect 7 days a week when the weather is permitting. So they're eager. They hear our cries. They hear it from the community. We've got a lot of local trades on site, so they all know what we're all living with and trying to, get our kids back into a permanent brick and mortar structure. I know that one of the blacktop potholes, that's a big topic around the district, and when we get those completed, I spoke with Clymer actually today, and I should expect them, weather permitting, the 2nd week of April, they should be back on our properties. And I was told, once they mobilize, they're gonna make sure that we get all the stuff that we've currently got obligated with them taken care of. And then there's a huge wave of striping the parking lots that'll take place as soon as they come in and do the pothole patchwork. And we'll be discussing at our next work session, capital improvements. Dr. Combs, myself, and Jamie are working on compiling that for you guys, so we can sit down and really hash out some of these needs, and obviously we're challenged with a lot right now of financial burdens and how to take care of a lot of it. So we'll get to the weeds of what we really can do and what we hope to continue to be able to continue doing throughout the school system. So that's all I've got this evening. But
any questions, Mr. Gill?
We had a little issue pop up at our work. January has been pivotal for the whole world. Are y'all getting any delays in the materials or anything like that yet?
No, we hadn't. We were fortunate enough to have some early release packages whenever we started this project. They were kind of getting in front of some of this. So if you drive by, you're gonna see a bunch of HVAC units that are sitting on site. Warranty kicks in once they're installed, but they went ahead and secured them whenever, so luckily they were, forward thinking enough, with knowing that we had a presidential election coming on, just didn't know how some of these things would shake out, and so we haven't really seen any hiccups on material. I mean, we've had some concrete challenges, and that's got to do with, you order up a batch and you gotta cut it back, or you get good weather and then you try to order more. So I mean, there's some of that they work through. for the most part, we've been pretty fortunate on most of it. We haven't heard any issues with product.
Ms. Eubanks?
I had a question about the heat at the elementary school.
So we've added two additional heaters, if you would, on each building. I was told earlier today that the one that was on the elementary school is getting replaced tomorrow. Apparently it tripped, had something internally that kept breaking,
Pretty cool, isn't it?
yeah, matter of fact, this evening, as I've been sitting here, I've been communicating with.
And cool, like, not like, hey, that's cool.
No.
I mean, they're that too, but.
Well, yeah.
But Troy Bushley, our Sunbelt rep, who is local, lives here in our community, and trust me, guys, Troy Bushley has gone above and beyond to do what he can do to make sure that we get what we need. And it's a very challenging, task, if you will, but he is bringing us a new heater tomorrow. He's gone up this evening while we've been here to turn them up even higher. But the one that was on the elementary school, it had an internal something that went out on it, and
Hopefully that'll be fixed tomorrow.
I'm hopeful. Well, at 9 o'clock, he said he's bringing a new unit tomorrow morning.
Okay.
I think he had to come from Nashville. They had to get one down, so he's expecting, I'm assuming around 8, and then he's bringing it up here, and we should have them on site tomorrow morning to get that one. And I will give you guys an update on the status of that heat, and hopefully that it is helping. If we had it all over again, I would request some more values, conversations.
Yeah.
And if we ever do it again, we will demand those.
Yeah, any other questions, Mr. Bennett? Yeah, Mr. Edwards?
Mr. Bennett, how far are we from the roof being put on?
From the roof at the new school?
Yes,
So
sir.
right now, we're looking, like I said, I mentioned earlier, we've got the roofing materials, and it's fixing to go on the gym, on the middle school gym in
Yes,
the
sir.
H, in area H. That'll give a large area, to be able to go ahead and bring other trades in.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a date as far
Yes,
as
sir.
the other areas, but we are, once you get a large, as much square footage is in area, the gymnasium in area H.
Yes, sir.
That's gonna be able to really, increase the workforce and
So
hopefully.
once you get that on, you be able to be inside, you could kind
On
of.
those areas, most definitely, but of course, again, we're working it in sections, so if you'll see the map, you've got A through, G, if you will.
Yes, sir.
On the map, and then you'll be able to see how much square feet, is gonna actually be on the roof, as soon as the weather permits.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I will say, Mr. Daugherty was on a phone call the other day, and he, was on it with, several other CFOs and stuff, I don't know, and they did chime in and say that we are one of the few districts that they, has a capital outlay project like Dr. Combs and Hunter have put together, so that's a commendation to them for what they've done, their work there, and so, for this district, you guys, hard work keeping that together. I know there's challenges and stuff. I do see, talking to Nolan and a couple of things, and there are some bills coming through, and hopefully is to help with some of this capital improvement, and I will say, as much as there was, there were some things with the educational, scholarship bill, there are some stuff on the backside of that for relief, for infrastructure. So there are some bills, not only that, but I know some other bills out there that are potentially going through that we would support, that TSBA supports as well for capital infrastructure. Because I think, Billy, you put a report together, what were how many millions of dollars was public education? The infrastructure, that's the thing you sent us yesterday.
The task report that was just
Yeah.
released, I can send that out, because that's multiple levels of school infrastructure.
But it was 75, was it billion? We're behind? We were 75 billion, we're behind, and just public infrastructure in Tennessee to begin with, so. Anyway, yeah, if you don't mind sending that out, the board will at least know, but there are some good things, I think, coming through the House. I think, typically, when you get a bill that's controversial like that, sometimes they wanna come back and back it up with some good faith stuff, so, let's watch that, and so hopefully we can get some, capital funding coming this way as well. Mr. Bennett, thank you so much.
You guys, any more questions? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Combs, do you have anything?
I do wanna say this, I wasn't sure about the whole policy subcommittee deal. That thing's great. That's really nice. It's cool because it gives you more time to focus on, give a little more focus to it, and then push it out to the group, and then pull it back in if you need to. That part's nice. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I think that's gonna go well. Yeah, even though even though Bird kicked me out of y'all's meeting earlier, I do think that's gonna be a good thing.
Good, thank you,
Mhm.
thank you. Ms. Croson, I saw you back there, you have anything?
I've just taught Trey and I wanted to see him in action,
Awesome.
so that's
Oh,
why
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so very proud.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, in third grade, and I'm just very proud of you, Trey. And first grade, that's right, I had him twice, that's
Yeah,
right.
wonderful.
Cool.
He's a great kid.
Excellent. Well, we got scope coming up, TSBA scope, we've got representatives from each school, is that correct? Two from each high school? Two from each high school will be going up to Belmont University on the 13th, I think, of March. And they'll be representing us, they'll be learning student government and kind of, going through a mock board meeting and stuff like that, so I think that'll be good, for them to learn that. Dr. Combs, I had one other thing just to ask. I saw some things, and it's more probably about policy, kind of, and I don't know if we can do anything here, but, there's been some talk on, I don't have Facebook or anything like that, but I have seen some screenshots and stuff like that on potential, I don't know, potential recruiting violations, stuff like that, with high schools and stuff, I don't know, and again, I say this because we don't want any of it going from any school, right? And I don't know what is, what's true or what's false, or, but we want healthy competition between our schools, but yet no, recruiting, if that's what it is, and, from any of the schools, I would think, but I say that, is there any policy that we have that defines that, I know a lot goes back to TSSAA, but I was just curious, is that something that we can do from a policy standpoint to squash recruiting or stuff? I don't know, I'm just asking.
No, it's a fantastic question, and, obviously I've been asked that here lately as well, and over the course of everything, we hear those things, it tends to come in cycles as well, right? So, policy 4.30 something, Dr. Bird, will you help me out? Interscholastic athletics, 4.30, 1 or 2? 1, 2? 1. 4.301, if y'all give that a look when you get a chance, that's interscholastic athletics. That addresses the board and basically our dealings with interscholastic athletics, which would be all the stuff that we're doing, right? Football, baseball, that kind of stuff. And basically, if you read that policy, what it says is, the principal is responsible for what goes on in that building, and they abide by TSSAA's guidelines. If you have not read TSSAA's bylaws, it's about 61 pages, and you can download that bad boy and take a look at it. But I can also, cut to the chase and give you some information before the next time so you can see what's up. Basically, what those guidelines say with regard to recruiting, it lists a few things that says that, coaches don't need to do, right, that we be considered those things, and it says the coach and the principal are basically in charge of that. Nowhere does it mention the board nor the superintendent. I'm saying all that to say this, that information goes directly from the school to TSSAA. So let's say, like for the allegations you're talking about that we've all seen on social media, right? I'm not on Facebook either, but I don't have to be because everybody sends me screenshots of everything, right? So, right, is that right, Mr. Gill? So anyway, when we get that information, the school will send that information to TSSAA. Like if they say, look, we think there's a violation here, whatever, they might talk to Mr. Fields or Mr. McLean, who are the athletic director for the district and the assistant athletic director for the district, to give them guidance on how to send that information up to TSSAA, and then they do that. I have no teeth in that. Right? If they are going to the appropriate school for academic purposes, whether that be they open enrolled or they went there because they live there or whatever the reason, that's what we look at. As far as the recruiting piece and the athletic part, that's a judgment by TSSAA. They have to make a ruling on that or do an investigation, and then now if they send that back to me and say, hey, these allegations are viable, this happened, there's a problem, then that gives me another course, right? But they may say, look, we didn't find anything, or it's not enough for us to investigate or whatever, then basically I don't have any say in that, right? Except for the fact that the coaches are supposed to be doing what TSSAA tells them to do. And if they're not doing that, then they're in violation of that. However, TSSAA has to say that. They have to give that ruling down.
They're the governing body.
They're the governing body of the athletics. They have to do that. So, you know, we can look at that, look over that policy, see what you think, 4.301. If it's something that you would like for us to look at a little bit and, you know, put more in there, we can do that. But, you know, even when you go back into it, it's gonna flow back to TSSAA. Again, if there's fault found by them, then that gives me room to move. But they have to make a determination. Does that help? That,
Yeah,
I may have spun a wheel there.
No, that's fine,
Okay,
that
okay.
helps, I think that helps us, you know,
Okay.
I think we just, you know, bombarded with questions and stuff, and wanna make sure that if there's anything that we can do, you know, then we wanna, by all means, try to
Absolutely.
solidify that, you know,
Yep.
that's where we stop as policy, so I
Right.
appreciate that, thanks for that update, I knew TSSAA had some teeth, so.
And I'll send you a highlighted copy
That'd be
of
great.
the policy and also the appropriate guidelines in TSSAA that I think would apply to this scenario.
Okay,
I'll shoot you all
Thank you.
those in an email.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Board, any other questions, anything else? Any other concerns, good? Well, anything y'all have, Mr. Fields, Mr. Daughter? Mr. Garcia? Well, listen, yes, Mr.
One
Fields.
little pause.
Yep.
In our work session, can we talk about the new legislation? Can we take a little snippet and do some discussion?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's up to y'all.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
by all, you talking about next work session? Yeah, is that
We need
kind of,
to-
so is that gonna be mainly for you, and we'll also have financial as well, so
I won't be here.
you won't, but,
That's how I'm gonna be.
That's why we're flipping and doing capital.
okay, all right, sounds good. So
We'll
we
need to put it on
expect
the-
no amendments, Billy, so none, just,
We'll
we're
do
good,
that.
we're tracking.
Beasley may come with
Yeah.
anything, that was urgent.
No, this is the federal one. Yeah, that sounds good, you know, we'll take some time and maybe, you know, have some time, and we can just, yeah, we'll put it on the agenda, but it's the second Tuesday, last Tuesday, thank you. Thank you, appreciate it.
That one.
Any other questions? We have a motion to adjourn, we got a motion by Mr. Lavelle, second by Mr. McCann, all in favor say aye. Any